Hello, my beautiful friends. So I welcome you in the love and the light of the one infinite creator. And in today's session, I have channeled the Galactic Federation and I have queried about many things in this session, and I found out that, this session is actually really interesting, not only for me, but I think you'll find it really interesting and fascinating, okay? Because in this session, we have talked about, I queried about how to find out if we are already in the fourth density consciousness. Okay, so they tell us a type of test we can do, okay, to find out if we are in the fourth density vibration already, okay, because there are many people who may already be in that vibration, right? So how can you find out, right? So today you'll get the answer about that. And the other thing they said is, they talk about the spiritual garment or the soul's garment or the clothes of the souls. Okay, now we have clothes for our human body, but they also talk about clothes for the soul. And what are the clothes for the soul? And what does the clothes for the soul do to our life in the incarnation, right? So it's really interesting. All right. And also they talk about like December 21st. Okay, they talk about many things. They say that it's they say in the session that many of the things, it's unavoidable and it will happen. Okay, no, if people don't it will happen no matter what. That's what they said in the session. And they talk about December 21st, so it's explained in the session and you will understand it. Furthermore, I also queried about the past incarnation cycle of Dolores Cannon. Now this one was really fascinating, okay, because not only they talk about like where did Dolores Cannon's soul originate from, okay, but like the whole history. And they also talk about, since Dolores Cannon is not on our planet currently, she has crossed over, what is she doing now? All of this stuff is explained in huge detail, okay. Like this is, I'm so thankful, that I was able to channel today. And also I'm very thankful, for all of you, who are watching the video and for asking me such questions, because without your questions I would not have been able to channel. So with that being said, here's the session.
We are the Galactic Federation, and we are now communicating through this instrument. In order for our communication to occur, we would require those who shall listen to this message to use discernment, and only accept those insights which resonate with your inner heart, thereby leaving behind those which do not resonate. For there is a difference between what your internal heart may recognize as the truth and what you, as your analytical mind, may accept as to be true. We as the Galactic Federation would suggest each entity to use its own inner heart to judge what we are saying here today, and to judge what our message is here for the human collective has to use its judgment and own free will, not only when receiving our messages, but also with other aspects of communications, as which are now occurring upon your planet. We have been in contact with you throughout the year, and we have seen a massive difference because of the communications we have provided, not only through this instrument, but also through many other so-called channelers who derive a joy in serving the human collective by acting as instruments for our telepathic communications. For there are many upon your planet who are doing this service, and this service has made a drastic impact upon your planetary sphere. The impact in the rise of consciousness is so great that we, along with the Council, have decided to continue this program of allowing the message of love and light to spread via the means of telepathic communication as is occurring now. For this is the best way for the human collective consciousness to derive an understanding of the working of the spiritual self without having us to infringe upon the free will. Today, this instrument wants to understand how can one find out if one is already in the fourth density consciousness. For this, we as the Galactic Federation would like to state that each being upon the planet who desires to understand whether it is on the plane or on the density of fourth density can test itself by firstly understanding and recognizing that it has a potential of creation. In the fourth density, the elements or the conscious illusion complex responds to the imagination sequences of such entities. Therefore, each being upon the planet can test themselves by firstly trying to manipulate energy and trying to manipulate reality. And if they are consciously able to create and desire their reality as per their thought forms and the energy work they have conducted in their mind, and the reflections soon begin to show up on the third density reality, this is a proof that such entity is already on the fourth density vibrations. However, there are people on your planets who are fluctuating from the fourth density, and many a times they recede downwards. For the aspect or the indulgence in the lower chakras, especially that of the red ray, the orange ray and the yellow ray energy centers need to be transcended. Which means that an entity in the fourth density consciousness vibration will have less desire to indulge in the aspects of the egoic self and to indulge in the so-called conflicts of the mind which happen upon your planets in large numbers, as there are many people upon your planet who are still in the grasp of this egoic self. Also remember that these entities who are already in the fourth density, they do not want to comply with what the universal societal complex has created. These people, they want to understand that they have the free will and they exercise their free will. Also, it is unavoidable that all the people on your planets will, at one point of their incarnation cycle, whether on this planet or on another planet, will enter into the fourth density vibration, thereby experiencing the same. Furthermore, the fourth density entity, who is already in the fourth density vibration, also has less cravings for the aspects known as sexual drive, for this aspect indulges in the red ray. Therefore, such entities who are already in the fourth density will have less desire to indulge in the sexual aspect. Because of their vibrations being of a higher nature, they only can feel love all day and all night long, for there is only love and compassion on the fourth density vibration. The best test for each entity is to ask a question. The question is whether it is indulging in the lower chakras or not, and the amount of indulgence for a balance is necessary. If the indulgence is of a larger nature, then that chakra needs to be balanced in order to enter into the fourth density vibration. For this is the best test we can share for your people. Therefore, we shall now address the second query placed by this instrument, which pertains to the so-called coming days of the December month. In this regard, we the Galactic Federation have decided to send light codes upon your planetary sphere on December 21st, and these light codes will act as a DNA activator for your light DNA genes. For your physical body already has the DNA and the genes which are lying dormant at this time, which will activate the spiraling of your physical vehicle and your mental complex into a fourth density light body vibration slowly and slowly. And as you begin to transcend and activate this light gene, you will see changes upon your bodily complex. For the assistance of this activation, we are sending light codes upon your planet on December 21st. And this will be the first of its kind, for the light waves will be of a high bandwidth nature, and they will impact a large number of people who are ready to receive such vibrations. Therefore, on that day, each entity must firstly remember to be open to receive such vibrations is to tune into the vibrations of love and to spend the day in love and light. We shall now state that there are many people on your planet Earth who are well aware of a concept known as the spiritual garment of the soul. However, still there are many who are yet unaware of this aspect. The spiritual garment is the soul clothes, or the clothes worn by the soul. Similar to your physical vehicles which need clothes to be worn, the soul also has a cloth which is worn upon incarnation on the earth planet, and the clothes that the soul wears is determined by the chakras, the red, the orange, the yellow, and the green. For your vibrations are fluctuating between these aspects. Therefore, the best way to understand the spiritual cloth your soul is wearing is by understanding the type of mood and the type of breath you accompany during your waking daytime. For the type of mood or emotion and the type of breath you accompany is the soul's cloth that it is wearing, and this cloth will affect the outside world whether you want it or not. This is unavoidable and will happen, that each being whose soul clothes are of a certain vibration or a certain emotion will begin to imply and to create certain outer reality activities. For this is the nature of the soul clothes. You must be very careful if you are unaware of the clothes you are wearing, because if you are wearing a negative cloth such as a negative mood in your chakras and your breath is constricted, then, my friends, we as the Galactic Federation would like to state that you will have to change yourself if you desire to encounter a fruitful and a happy life in this illusion complex. Now we shall address the query placed by this instrument, which pertains to the past incarnation cycles of the entity known as Dolores Cannon. We shall now state that this entity known as Dolores Cannon, in essence, its soul incarnation has had multiple timelines. However, we shall share with you one timeline which shall make sense to your people and act as an inspiration. This entity began its first density cycle of incarnation after it originated from the one aspect of the Creator on the planet known as Egregore X in the Andromeda galaxy. On that planet, this entity started to interact with the first density elements, thereby learning the lessons of interaction and learning the lessons of beingness. This entity in that level of consciousness, however, had a faster evolutionary cycle because it was faced with a third density entity who had adopted this entity during its first density life cycle in that planetary sphere in the Andromeda galaxy. And because of this interaction with a third density natured entity, it began to learn the lessons directly, similar to that of the third density. And this further allowed this entity to directly graduate from the later first density consciousness into the third density vibration after a period of 255,000 years cycle. On the level of third density consciousness, since this entity had chosen, since its first incarnation cycle, and since its adopted one, or the one who adopted it, was of a positive nature, because of the vibrations of positivity, it already chose the path of positive service to others in that planet, and thereby soon began to use the service to others aspects or the timeline of choice of service to others in the third density cycle. This entity, therefore, becoming interested in service to others, had become advanced in the aspects of green ray activation. After 5 incarnation cycles, it was able to not only access the green ray vibrations of the 4th density, but was of a nature of crystalline aspect, or was of a nature of crystalline quality of the 5th density vibration many a times. Hence this entity became the so-called representative of its planetary sphere, and it joined the Council of Andromeda in that space-time continuum of around 1 million years ago. On the Council of Andromeda, this entity worked as a light being, assisting humanity and the collective consciousness. We correct this instrument, assisting the Andromedan mind, body, and spirit complex similar to the human collective as found on this planet. This entity went out and incarnated on several Andromeda galaxies and planets for the purpose of spreading love and light. Most of the missions this entity took part in were successful. This entity was also sent to this current Earth planet at the first space-time of around 12,500 of your space-time illusion complex. Prior to 12,500 of the current space-time, this entity incarnated on the lands known as Atlantis, wherein this entity had incarnated as a 4th density teacher in order to share the message of love and compassion. And this entity during the lands of Atlantis, during the period when there was a conflict between the children of the Law of One and the children of Belial, or the ones who were focused on spirituality and the ones who were focused on the aspect of technology, this entity worked for the benefit of the spiritual side and acted as a teacher and a leader. This entity later on created a type of spiritual vehicle which may be considered as a technological feat by your people. However, this was entirely spiritual. This entity, along with many other beings, were able to create a spiritual vehicle which was able to travel in time similar to the Merkabas, however, of a physical nature, which can be felt and touched by the senses. In the lands of Atlantis, it was able to save around 25,750 souls during the conflict between the children of the Law of One and the children of Belial. This conflict led to the destruction of the lands of Atlantis. However, the spiritual essence of Atlantis still remained, and many of the spiritual beings they reside on the inner planes currently, and some of the Atlanteans have already fled from this planet and have changed their course and reside in another spiritual density or plane. The Atlanteans, along with the guidance of this entity, were able to take the spiritual vehicle which is still present upon your planet Earth inside the numerous tunnels which have been created, and these tunnels interconnect the lands of Egypt and the lands of Atlantis. There is an underground cave system which connects these two societies, and if your people were to search the caves, they will find this time-space continuum traveling machine or a spiritual vehicle which was created by this entity known as Dolores. This entity then, after doing the service in the lands of Atlantis, returned back to the Council of Andromeda. And when the Earth planet began to spiral into the starting phases or the later phases of 3rd density, we, the Galactic Federation, had invited this entity who had wanted to incarnate on the Earth planet as a teacher. And this entity incarnated on 1931 on the Earth planet as a teacher of love and light. This entity worked on the Earth planet in a field which is considered as hypnosis, similar to this instrument. Furthermore, the messages and the contacts this entity, even though it had incarnated through the veil. It was able to penetrate through the veil many a times and bring the truth to the people. This entity had a wonderful life, leading a mass awakening of consciousness upon your planet. And this entity crossed over on the space-time of 2014. Currently, this entity resides in the Council of Andromeda, and we do not know what it will decide to do in the future. However, we can sense this entity has made a huge impact upon the Earth planet. And we, the Galactic Federation, leave you now. Bye.
Hello my friends. So after watching the session, I hope you have also learned a lot of information. And specifically for me, what I found really interesting was the past life of Dolores Cannon. Okay, like I'm still like, wow, right? That's the past life of Dolores Cannon. It's very interesting. Like she started in some planet in Andromeda, and then what happened was that she. Dolores Cannon, she came here on Atlantis, and they said that in Atlantis, she helps to create a machine or a spiritual vehicle, which they have stored inside underground caves. So this was really underground tunnels, I believe. Okay, tunnel system which connects Egypt and Atlantis. So this one was really interesting, and the other thing they said was she has incarnated on. She had incarnated on Earth planet for acting as a teacher, okay, since the Earth was spiraling into the fourth density vibration. So I believe she was here to do service to humanity, and she has done a wonderful job, as far as I can tell you. And the other thing that I need to say is after crossing over, Dolores Cannon, they said, has returned back to the Andromeda Council. So she is part of the Andromeda Council right now, and I don't know what kind of project they will do in the future, but this is what I learned from the session. Other thing that I learned is how we can test ourselves. So from the session, what I learned is the best way to test ourselves is, I believe what they said was if we are in the fourth density, okay, we will have less drives for sexuality, egoic conflicts, or conflicts with other people. And they also said that if you're in the fourth density, you will understand free will. So I believe most people who are awake are maybe many a times they are in the fourth density. So you can ask yourself this question, okay, like genuinely, like ask yourself this question, do I really like to indulge in sexuality? Do I have this drive towards egoic like interaction with other people? Do I want to make my ego bigger or stuff like that? If you can answer that question, okay, then you will find out where you are. Because they said it is an art of balancing, okay. All of the stuff that they talk about, it is about balancing. And the moment we are able to balance our chakras, the moment we will begin to enter into the higher vibration. And it's no different to the fourth density, okay. And also they said if you are in the fourth density vibration, then you can also affect the outside world by using your imagination, by doing energy work. You will begin to affect, and the moment you begin to keep track of what you're doing in your mind, or maybe keep track of what you're doing inside your body, in an emotional essence, and then the moment you start to see the reflection in the outside world, you will understand that, oh, okay, so I am doing this. So you will understand that you are in the fourth density. You are using that type of creative ability which is available in the fourth density vibration. So it's really simple, and the other thing they said is most of the times, in the fourth density, you feel love. You feel this enormous amounts of love, which is really like, sometimes, you feel it, okay, in meditation, you feel it, like this love is different. It's not love like love for someone else, but this stuff is, it's wholesome, okay. You cannot explain it, you cannot put it into words. It's a different type of love. It's a different level of love, okay. So you will feel that. And the other thing they talk about is the spiritual garment. Wow. They talk about our body. We have clothes, we can wear our clothes, whatever we want. And also our soul has clothes, okay. So the clothes for our soul is normally determined by our chakras and how we are feeling, okay. I believe this is what they said. So if we are feeling really good in our chakras, you can try this and you can feel it yourself. Your breathing will be different. So they said this, okay, our breath, I think, what they meant was our breath starts at the lower centers, energy centers, okay, from the red ray, orange and yellow, and then it goes up, right? So yeah, so if we are, if we feel really amazing, okay, if we feel really good, so that is a cloth. That is a type of cloth you're wearing, and your breath will be different, okay? And in a similar manner, if you're feeling not so good, you will not breathe fully. You will be constricted. Your breath will be like, you'll be half-hearted breathing, and that is how they said that our soul has clothes. So you need to be very careful of the clothes you are wearing in this incarnation, because they will affect the outside world. This is what they said. I remember this. This is very, very interesting. And the other thing they said was on December 21st, the Galactic Federation have decided to send light waves in a huge amount, okay? Like they said, this will be like a large amount of bandwidth of light waves coming to your planet, and it will activate the internal DNA of people. They said that we have the DNAs for our light bodies dormant, so they will try to activate it, okay? So the more we activate our light body DNA, the faster the evolution, and it will begin to affect us in a manner which we don't know, okay? So it will affect us, all right? So this is what they said. And the other thing I remember is, okay, the past life of Dolores Cannon I already covered. So anyways, this session was really, really interesting. I really loved the aspect about Dolores Cannon's past life. I found it really fascinating, interesting about Atlantis and stuff like that. And the other thing is, if you want to know your past life, because I also help people know about the past life. Of course, I do my own channeling, so you don't have to worry about anything. So if you want to know your past life, you can send me an email, and then when I have free, available, time, I will send you out emails so I can help you out. Okay, so thank you so much. And also I want to say big thank you to my Patreon supporters. Because I can share amazing content on Patreon, uncensored. I just love that platform as well. And thank you all so much for watching the video and liking the video as well. See you in the next session.